Hi, my name is Vivian. This is what I usually look like, apart from being sweaty and gross. And this is going to be a tour of some of my garden space. So first, a little bit more about me. I'm 21. I'm going to be going into my senior year of undergraduate with a degree in botany or biology with a plant emphasis. I'm also on track to receive a certificate in Indigenous Peoples Studies. I say that partially as like a way for you guys to get to know me a little bit better, but also partially to show that I've dedicated a lot of time and thought to some of these things that I kind of want to share more of on the internet. I also want this video, and maybe more of my online presence in general, to be a little cute display of the plants I grow. I want to emphasize to people my age that gardening, foraging, a lot of these skills and methods that homesteading/gardener content creators do are actually pretty, they're easy-ish, maybe not easy, but they're possible. Of course, I'm really fortunate to have access to this space and the physical ability to do some of these things, but I don't think that's a privilege that I'm necessarily disregarding or that I'm not aware of. So no, although I do have a background in some of this stuff, keep in mind an undergraduate degree, and especially an incomplete undergraduate degree, does not an expert make. I want folks to realize that I'm a nerd. More than anything, I'm a student and a nerd, and I am not the be-all, end-all voice on any of these things. Which is an important and vital segue into the fact that there is no single way to do any of these things. To hunt, to fish, to forage, to garden. And I do think that sometimes in the heat of content creation, a lot of folks might not represent that to the best of their ability, and I want folks to realize that sustainability means diversity, both in the garden, obviously diversity of species, diversity of cultivar, but also a diversity of thought and experience and participation, ability, background, whatever. Diversity is the key to sustainability, I think. Another huge thing that I really want to bring up is the fact that I am non-Indigenous, but I am occupying Indigenous land or lands that have been traditionally occupied by and protected and stewarded by Indigenous peoples of this area. And I think it misses a huge part of history, a huge part of what sustainability means to let that fact go unsaid. I think without mentioning that fact, any and all discussions of sustainability or sustainable agriculture or sustainable gardening methods really fall short because the peoples that have taught me so much about all of this stuff are Indigenous and have occupied this land. Like, a lot of my ethnobotanical knowledge is stuff that has been passed to me as a gift by Indigenous peoples. And so I never want to present any of that information as if it is my own. I never want to present information as though it is not a gift, as though it is not something that one finds through trial and error, experimentation, through hardship. I never want it to be the case that I am ungrateful for any of the gifts I've been given, verbal or like oral tradition or otherwise. And not only is the information that I've received gift, but I have also received seed from Indigenous peoples. I have received special help on where to find certain things, and so I'm forever super grateful for those folks in my life who have been able to help me with that sort of thing. And although I have received some of this traditional wisdom from Indigenous peoples, I myself am not Indigenous, and I'm still quite young. I'm not the be-all, end-all expert on all of this, and in fact, there's a lot of diversity even within certain tribes or nations on some of these techniques, and so it's really dependent on a lot of factors, and it's not one size fits all. Not all of this information is even mine to share per se, not my choice to share, but I do just want to be able to make sure that I give credit where credit is due for some of these things. So without further ado, we can get on. Enough disclaimers, enough ranting, and I hope that folks can approach this with an open mind, but even still, it's the internet, and so that's not likely to happen. And furthermore, keep in mind that I'm young, I'm naive, I don't know everything. That's not to say that I am not to be held responsible for my words and actions and whatever, but I do think it's an important admission that I very likely will get things wrong and I very likely could mess things up. It's, if anything, a less of a way of dodging accountability and more of taking accountability ahead of time in case that is something I should do. Enough preamble. I hope you really enjoy seeing my garden. Also, by the way, this isn't all of my growing space. This is just the most of it. Here are my grapes. We had tilled this little section and we planted some 6 vines this year. A little closer look will show most of the grapes that I have planted are actually wild riverbank grape. A great choice for rootstock in my region. It gets super cold and it gets super wet. And rootstock is what you call different cultivars, or in this case, a different species of grape that you are using in order to share certain beneficial characteristics. So in this case, the species that I chose provides great strength, vigor, you call that, allows them to last really well in the wintertime, allows them to resist cold, resist a lot of diseases that are common for my area, and be more moisture tolerant. So with these grapes, I plan on grafting some wine grape cultivar on top of this rootstock. I personally make wine myself. I really enjoy wine, and so I enjoy wine grapes, and so I will be doing that with these vines. You can see that there's actually pretty big difference in leaf shape and size. That's something called phenotypic plasticity. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the grape stuff. You can see that these are all cute. Here's a little cucumber. Here's another vine. Look at these little cute little leaves forming. I just transplanted these. So yeah, probably like a few days ago, I transplanted these, and they got shocked, but they're certainly recovering. I think that they're doing pretty well. They're putting out new leaves, and they will hopefully survive the winter time. That's the real test of a grape is if they can make it through a Wisconsin winter. You might also notice that I have a bunch of cucumbers planted. It's because I have this black fabric laying down to preserve moisture in amongst these other vines, and I figured it would be nice to utilize some of that horizontal space. Now this right here is actually a cute little baby Pinot Noir, which, I don't know, doesn't tend to grow really well in Wisconsin, but I'm messing around trying to figure some things out. If it does grow vines this next coming year, I will use them to graft onto all of the other rootstock. And so yeah, here's my cute little section. This part of my growing space is actually my Three Sisters garden. I won't necessarily go too in-depth on a story for the Three Sisters, but just know that the Three Sisters are corn or maize, beans, and squash. You can use any variety of corn, more or less, but flour corns, dent corns, flint corns, these are always the most These are the most common varieties for the Three Sisters method because it requires a super strong corn stalk in order for vigorous beans to grow up them. So you plant your corn about the time in spring when the leaves of the red osier dogwood, Cornus serracea, when these leaves become the size of a squirrel's ear. So that's a cute little Haudenosaunee teaching. So you plant your corn first, a dent corn or a flint corn. There's lots of videos online about growing these in specific, but I just thought I'd give a little tour today. Then you follow it up with the two younger sisters, beans and squash. The cultivar of corn I'm growing this year is a Haudenosaunee blue corn. It's a blue flower corn. What's funny is that this cultivar is actually not exquisite for the Three Sisters gardening method if your beans are as vigorous as the ones that I've chosen. But I really wanted to get a Three Sisters bed established this year, and so I chose to go with the Haudenosaunee blue flower corn because that's what I was gifted, and I went ahead and grew this for seed, but also for some flower. You can see here I'm touching the silks. These are actually incredibly long styles of the pollen-receiving flowers. These are each actually individually corresponding to a single kernel. And then you can see up the corn plant right here. This is the tassel. These are the pollen-bearing structures. The anthers sort of hang down, and pollen is exposed, and then the pollen falls down onto the silks and pollinates the corn. In such a small space as this, I go through and I shake the corn and do a little bit of hand pollination. But not everybody always does this. It's not always necessary. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I get a really good pollination. This is the second sister, beans. These are a Haudenosaunee True Red Cranberry Bean, or a Haudenosaunee True Cranberry Bean. Regardless, they're really cute, super strong red bean, a dry bean. You grow these until the fruits or the legume dries out on the stalk of the bean, and in fall you harvest them and you can store them. This is the third sister, the squash. This is an Oneida Hubbard squash. They're a beautiful, huge, super hardy, I find them buttery kind of in flavor, squash cultivar. They're beautiful, they're vigorous. One thing I have found about Hubbard squashes in general is I've heard that they are more susceptible to squash vine borer moths. I don't know if this is true per se, but yeah, I don't know. You can see all of the sisters interacting here, little silks, beautiful beans crawling. Here's a little baby bean. And yeah, they all grow I don't know, they work well together. They taste well together. They're super nutritionally dense. They really complement each other well. Oh, and here's a cute little baby cucumber I stuck in here. I have my beans growing up some sticks. Some of them are willow branches. Just because, well, and here's a cute little bent one. I think next year I'm going to plant closer together. I have them growing up sticks because as I mentioned, the corn is short and not as strong. Instead of crawling up sticks, you can sometimes plant these giant sunflowers, which do really nice. I just had a bunch of them get eaten by rabbits this year, so that didn't work. Here's the pollen-bearing flowers. Some call them male. I don't know. I think polliniferous or pollen-bearing is a little bit more accurate botanically. You can see how cute they are. They've got a little stamen in there. But yeah, they just sprawl out on the ground. They act as a mulch. They retain water pretty well. Sometimes squashes can be dramatic, so you have to water them. But they keep the ground cooler. They keep the ground moist. Oh, and look at beautiful little ovary swelling up, becoming a nice big fruit for us. But yeah, they keep the ground safe, protect the other sisters. The squash have little prickles that keep things from eating the corn. They also are just kind of a hassle to crawl around through. Then the beans provide next year's nitrogen, and also the beans utilize that vertical space of the maize. And the corn obviously is the tallest sister. She provides strength and stability. Now we have here some tomatoes. These, when I took this video, the tomatoes were being dramatic. They're getting really wilty. I should water them more deeply. These are a beefsteak. They're a slicer tomato. You can see that they're not doing super hot in this video, but trust me, they're fine. They're just being dramatic. Now I have here more beans. These are a Stockbridge Muncie. That's all I was told, that they're just called Stockbridge beans, Stockbridge Muncie beans. They're really nice, huge leaves. You can see that they're already putting on fruits, and look at how swollen and beautiful these pods are. They're a great dry bean, pretty big too. I grew these all. I have 10 plants only, and they were all from only one plant last year. I was given 2 beans, and one of them didn't make it through a storm, but I think they're doing pretty well now. Then over here, I've got some onions. I've got a Red Wing variety and a Spanish Yellow. And the Spanish Yellow is an heirloom, so I'm going to try and grow some seed. Look at how nice and big these beautiful onions are. I'm going to be super happy. Here's purslane. That's another yummy edible thing. A lot of people call it a weed. I don't think so. Here is a fun little tag along right here. I have a cantaloupe that was in some of my compost. I had composted a cantaloupe, I guess, and I don't know, a little cantaloupe grew out of that, and so I'm just gonna try seeing if it's worth doing again ever. I don't know. I was growing garlic in this bed, but now I have more cranberry bean in it. I harvested most of the garlic. I've got cilantro and dill in here also, which is just, I don't know, I was looking to throw something somewhere. You can see the beans I have growing up these sticks, but then some of them grew outside of the sticks and are growing up this cute little ash tree here. So you can see vining all around these branches. And I just thought that was such a cute little thing. I'm going to let these beans do whatever they want. So yeah, that's basically all of my main growing area. I've got these cute little garlics right here. Those are pretty small. Usually have them bigger. And here's some cucumbers I have planted over here. But yeah, and a big old sunflower. But this is basically all of my garden stuff on this side. So I hope you guys really enjoy watching this, and I hope to post more. Oh, I forgot one more thing. Here is my, this is a native cactus. This is Opuntia humafusa, which is a prickly pear, but native to Wisconsin. Grows in, you can grow them for prickly pear fruits. You can grow them for nopal. I don't know, they're cute, they're beautiful, they're resilient plants, and so, I don't know, we can take a lesson of resilience from them. I hope you guys really enjoyed my garden today and learning a little bit, and I hope I get better at making, maybe not as long of videos, but, I don't know, cute little videos about these plants. Thank you for watching.